Duplication powers in superhero media are often a popular supervillain ability, and very rarely a heroic one. Having a personal one-man army makes for a great fight for the heroes, and a great relief to animators who have the same model copied and pasted. The ability to make your own henchmen is quite useful when you know your limits, and none better showcase this than Invincible's Dupli-Kate. This multiplying maiden has been a frequent supporting character in all 3 seasons of this bloody and mature superhero show. However, despite being a superhero, Kate is a character who has become despised by the fandom, with a searing hatred only matched by her undying boyfriend, the Immortal. And what's got the viewers hating this particular hero in a show that has guys like Nolan, who traumatized his own son by using his body to unalive a train full of people just to make a point? The same show that has an entire race of planet-wiping colonizers? And also this multiverse-hopping hater? That's nothing compared to Kate's crime of being a bit of an asshole. Well, here we go again. Hey team, phantomskullvt the super security VTuber here, and today we're looking at Invincible's Dupli-Kate, to analyze arguably the show's most unanimously hated female character, and to see if she really deserves all this heat. I'm sure the comments will be nothing but civil after I'm done. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to start barricading the office windows. Like with Immortal, let's do a brief recap of our fanon favorite gal. Catherine Kate Char and her twin brother Paul were born with the ability to duplicate themselves. They leave their power origins to the ambiguous description of a family curse, and don't go into the odd comics origin of it being some kind of ancient Chinese descendants curse from a dying archenemy of their ancestor. It was a little weird. Regardless, it allowed both of them to have the power of multiplication, which unfortunately led to the death of their mother from birth complications, and driving their father insane due to them being unable to control their duplication powers at such a young age. And you think you've got it rough as a parent? Now wards of the US government, they were trained from an early age to be combatants and agents, which Paul doesn't particularly gel with and chooses to run away while Kate stays behind, starting their paths as hero and criminal. Not much is known between her time as a ward of the government and young adulthood, but she would find herself on Teen Team with Rexplode, Adam Eve, and Robot. They'd spend the next few years fighting crime and chilling before briefly adding Invincible to their squad, and then fighting themselves as the founding members of the new Guardians of the Globe after the Prior's tragic murder. However, some fans have claimed her presence on the team was purely nepotism on Robot's part, but let's pin that for later. Like other characters, she's a parody or send-up to a major comics character, with her being a mix of DC's Triplicate Girl and Marvel's Multiple Man. Like a lot of the non-Grayson-tied cast, she doesn't get a lot of focus, with her most pivotal moments being her accidentally taking part in Rex's cheating on Adam Eve, her relationship with the Immortal, and her death and comeback in Season 2. Throughout the series, she's been a constant supporting character, but one that has gone from just there to perhaps one of the most hated female characters, not seen since Amber during Season 1. I'm talking a level of hatred that is beyond understanding, to the point people were mad about her being a free skin in Fortnite, for crying out loud. And someone not as entrenched in the media might find this puzzling, since at worst you can call her a jerk, but is treated with far more disdain than some of the legitimately monstrous characters in the show. And given the fact Invincible gives the boys a run for its money in the unsettling content department sometimes, is saying something. But there's numerous reasons for why this dividing diva is not winning any popularity polls, so let's go over them. Now let's get the easy and often misused one out of the way. We all know why folks hate her with a searing passion for having mild character flaws. It's because she has a vagina. Okay, I'm gonna be very clear on this. While it can't be denied, some folks take their hatred of Dupli-Kate and other female characters in superhero media to extremely, unnecessarily hostile levels due to sexism or, at best, edgy teenage rage bait bigotry bullshit. It would be very dishonest and unhelpful to write off all criticism as just bigotry. Yes, superhero anime and frankly all geek media currently has a problem with casual to straight up vile bigotry, with how certain characters are treated in media, and how much of a dumpster fire geek media discourse has gotten, with the creeps who've made screaming about diversity and mocking social issues their entire personalities on social media. But people need to be careful with using this fragrantly, since really, Dupli-Kate really is kind of a shitty person. And the main reason people dislike her is similar to her boyfriend Immortal, and in general all heroic jerks in media. To quote a wise Tumblr person, the war crimes are fictional, but my annoyance is real. People are more willing to enjoy psychotic monsters who are at least entertaining over someone they find annoying or too similar to jerks they've met in real life. And oh boy, have I met people like Kate in my own life. She's very cold and unsympathetic to people, usually only concerning herself with her own needs and problems. And let's really look at the subplot of her death in season 2. So while half the team were stuck in space dealing with Shapesmith's up, Kate and the B team were left having to deal with the Lizard League taking over a nuclear silo. She soon runs out of copies and is apparently brutally killed by Komodo, with the team barely surviving the encounter. However, it's revealed at the end of the season she's always kept her original copy at a safe location, and apparently had a vow that if she ever died on the job, she'd hang up the hero costume to live a new life. But she found herself unable to be away from Immortal and leaving him thinking he failed her, and revealed herself to him. And only him. Remember, for the viewer, these two have only been dating for like 2 episodes, but she elects to only inform him about her being alive, and none of her years-long friends on Teen Team who are all grieving her death, especially Rex, who feels like he let her down on that mission. Rex had every right to be pissed. Like, not letting Multipole know until he was crashing out and trying to kill Rex in revenge. Sure, he's a wanted criminal, so I doubt she'd have a way to contact him, and frankly, they aren't that close anymore. But our friends just get left out in the cold? Dick move, Kate. And then later, her siding with Immortal over the Invincible vs. Cecil drama in season 3 irritated people since she has zero sympathy for Invincible, and hypocritically says he should have just followed orders, ignoring that she hasn't followed orders in the past, as Shapesmith pointed out. And then she gets into a fight with Ray and Monster Girl, trying to guilt them into saying she sacrificed as much as them and died for the cause. But the others point out that she was living the life like a remote drone and was never in any real danger, and felt insulted she's chastising the people who actually came close to death. That's a bit debatable since, yes, she was technically letting her shadow clones do the fighting and dying, but she makes it clear that she has a psychic link with all of her clones, and has felt every single hit, kick, beheading, and bisection they've had. And really, think back to the many ways her clones have died. This woman should be having crash outs harder than Subaru after one too many death loops like Sweet Christmas. But even with that, her lack of sympathy for others who don't have multiple lives make her come off as a bit of a hypocrite who only thinks of her own needs and trauma. All in all, she's a pretty person, regardless of her gender. The other reason is basically the same for most hated Invincible characters, in that she never wins fights. But unlike Immortal, I do think this is an unfair complaint when you think about her position. Let's circle back to the complaint of Robot picking her to be on the Guardians. I think a lot of the more power-scaly fans overlook the fact Robot picked her for her utility and variety on the team. On paper, Dupli-Kate's powers are pretty cracked. Having a personal one-woman army of someone who's been trained since childhood in self-defense and hand-to-hand combat is a great support ability, and I think that's the main thing. Dupli-Kate is a support hero. Her powers are great for crowd control, running interference, recon, and overwhelming non-super strength focused characters. Her brother shows a more vicious and overwhelming version of her powers, but if this is because he's naturally more skilled than her, is more ruthlessly efficient due to his profession as an assassin, or simply because he has less mental hang-ups with the mental links of his clones, is left to interpretation. The problem arises, which is a problem with Invincible's world in general, is that utility powers all become as useful as a match on wet firewood when the opponents you're using them on are walking tanks. Kate is often stuck facing people she cannot touch, such as Komodo or Psycho Multiverse Invincible. Kate is shown to have some enhanced strength, as she's been shown to push back the likes of Monster Girl, but clearly has no power to actually hurt them. It's like Invincible's fight with Darkwing 2. His strength suit allowed him to throw punches Invincible could feel, but not actually do any damage. So when stuck against the Lizard League's MVP Behemoth, she was a goner. And since almost all major enemies in Invincible have the same built different flying brick abilities, her skills are very poorly outmatched to flat out useless in these situations. And in a fandom where your KD ratio means more than your actual personality, she was already at a hard deficit since the latter was already lacking with her. So this is the part of the video where I'm gonna try to play devil's advocate with her, but admittedly I am finding this hard to do since even I agree she's an asshole, and it's becoming more apparent why she and Immortal make for such a toxic power couple. But here we go regardless. While we don't see a lot of her past under the government's care, her choice to stay and not run like her brother shows that she was raised more to trust and follow authority figures. She doesn't rock the boat unless a reasonable loophole is presented to her, like Black Samson's suggestion in Season 1 to disregard Cecil's stay-put orders to go help people. Some fans call her a bootlick over this behavior, and to a degree, I have to agree with that take, but it's clear this poor girl had a childhood of indoctrination to get to that point. That's purely speculation on my part. Never trust Uncle Sam, especially not in a superhero story. When she talks to her brother in prison and is trying to get him to reform under Cecil and the GDA, Paul bitterly comments that the GDA and the super mafia he works for are simply two sides of the same coin, with his bosses being more honest about their evil. He's not wrong in some regards, but Kate is not having any of this. Kate's not an authoritarian, but she was clearly raised not to question authority too hard. Given that Uncle Sam was her caretaker, I suppose we should be thankful she isn't a complete red, white, and blue cultist. And really, as bad as Dupli-Kate is, she's a flipping saint compared to her comics counterpart. But then again, you can say that about almost all of Invincible's women. Yeah, it's not a new topic to bring up that one of the biggest differences between the old comics and the show, besides removing early edgy 2000s humor that did not age well with anyone beyond basement dwellers, was the women were given complete 180s in their character writing. Series creator Robert Kirkman has openly admitted that he was bad at writing women back then, with almost all of them being very vapid, unimportant fan service devices whose only parts in the story were being nagging or horny for the main characters. I'll go into more details on that when I eventually do a video on Debbie, but Kate was hit just as bad in this department. A lot of the nuance with her character, the trauma she has with the psychic links with her clones, slightly more depth given to her relationship with Immortal, and the fact that she was unaware of Rex not breaking up with Eve when they hook up, is all show original. Literally all she's known for in the old comics is willingly cheating with Rex on Eve, never apologizing, and then giving Rex himself a taste of the old NTR experience hooking up with Immortal and being his wife. That's literally the extent of her character, and that she was a massive asshole. But that may not convince some of you, which is fine. Without spoilers, I will say, while we haven't seen the last of Kate, this was in the old comic where her relevance as a superhero ended. Unless they have some show-only plot involving her brother, this is kinda the end of the road for her. So while I may not have defended her as well as I did Immortal, since even I agree she's a jerk, I do feel like the hatred for her has reached ridiculous levels, especially in regards to some of the legitimately up things other characters have done. While bigotry is definitely seeping around the discourse with her, it's hardly anything close to the dumpster fire Season 1 Amber was, so I'd advise caution with anyone coming at it from that perspective, since really, Dupli-Kate is the perfect example of someone people would hate even if they swapped out her brother but kept everything else the same. Dupli-Kate isn't a saint, and that's okay. At the end of the day, she was a very minor character who had her time in the sun. It may not have been the best, but I don't think she's literally Satan for just being a jerk. But I can't stop you if you think otherwise. Heroes can be dicks, and they should have flaws, but there does have to be a limit since we do need to still find these heroes compelling enough to follow. And sadly, Dupli-Kate simply did not have anything going for her to save her from the fandom hate train. Enjoy your retirement with the geriatric Superman, Kate. Just make sure you got your social media accounts set to friends only for a bit. Thanks for watching. Hey, thanks for checking out my video. If you enjoyed my analysis of Dupli-Kate, be sure to leave a like and a comment. My channel is still pretty young, so every bit helps with YouTube's algorithm finding its place for my content. What are your feelings on Dupli-Kate? Is she overhated or not hated enough? Got other Invincible characters you'd want me to look at? Let me know below. Also, be sure to check out my socials for more updates on future projects and me yapping about comics and anime. Taking a break from streaming, but when I come back, you can find me doing gaming on the Purple site. Also, big shout out to my background artist Nalem. I've been using the static version of this for a bit, but now he just got done with the animated version, which I love. If you're looking for a background artist for your VTubing or other video content, I highly recommend him, and I got a link to his accounts below, so go give him some love. Thanks again, and I'll catch you all next time.